Welcome to another class. So in today's class, we're going to be learning about the button, the text input, and also the touchable opacity. These are React Native components used in mobile app development. All right. So the first thing we need to do is import them. So we're going to import, as you can see, I already imported. We're going to import button, touchable opacity, and we're also going to import the use router from expo router. Yes. All right, so let's jump into it. The first thing we want to look at is the text input. So assuming we're going to do this, let's do this on different screens. So on this home, we want to have a text input for maybe to receive information from the user, maybe like their name and phone number. So let's assume we want to use a text input to create a form that will receive the user's name and phone number. So here we are going to import text input from React Native. So we're going to use button here, then we use touchable opacity on the other screen. Yeah, let's do that. So here I'll import button here. Button also from React Native. Right. So in this parent view, when I say parent view, I'm referring to the view holding everything. That's the parent view. So here, I'll simply create another view. I'll create another view. I'll open this view. In this view, I'll now call on text input, which is self-closing. So this text input has other properties. The first property we want to look at is what we call the placeholder. So this is responsible for the text that the user see in the text input. So we can say something like enter your name. Also, to be able to manage the data that we are receiving from the user, we have to create a use state for it. So we have to import use state from React. So we need to import use state from React. Then the structure, name, or let's just say full name, comma, and set full name, and this will be a use state. This will be equal to a use state, assigned to a use state rather. So we assign this to a use state so that we can be able to monitor the data and also have a function that returns when it changes. All right. So after we pass in the placeholder, we have to pass in the placeholder text color to be able to see our placeholder properly. So I'll just pass in the color black here. So if I go to my app, we see that, right? You can see something that says enter your name, which you can type in. So with styling, we can bring out the box. So we can also call on style. Okay, no. First, we need to pass in a value. This value represents the initial value, which in this case will be full name. Also, we need to track the value when it changes using what? Unchanged text. And this usually takes a callback function. So here, which will return what? A set full name value. So we pass in the value here, and we also pass in the value here. Yeah. Then we can style, just to make it lively. So I'm going to be using inline styling. I'll give it a border width of 1, border color of black. So if you look at that, it says full doesn't exist. Okay, we refresh the app. So while we're waiting for the app to load, outside this view or inside this view, you can also call a button. You can call a button here that will do something. And button is also self-closing. So the button has a property called title. And we're going to say what we are on home screen now. So we're going to simply going to say go to about. So when somebody clicks on this button, it will take them to about. The button also has an on press, and this on press we simply want to return a callback function here that will use the expo router. So we say router dot push, and then we'll pass in the screen name here. So where do we want to push to? We want to push to slash. Perhaps we want to go to this is home screen. So let's go to settings from here. We want to go to settings. So good. Now you can see we have our text input box here that a user can enter their number or I mean their name, right? And then when they click on the button, it takes them. Oh, says router does not exist. That's right. That's because I've not defined router here. So how do I do that? I simply import use router from expo router. Then here we say constant router, which is what? Use router. Yes. So I'll refresh the app again. Alright, so while it's loading, let's see if we can add another text input. We can add another text input for, okay, yes. There's another property which is our keyboard type. Keyboard type. So there are so many keyboard types depending on what you want to do. So these are all the keyboard types available, but because this is just for text, we can use default. If it's that we're taking an email, we use email. So we can use default here. So let's create another text input here. This one is going to be for phone number. So here I also create a use state for that will help us manage phone number. So constant structure phone and what set phone which is what a use state, and it's going to start with an empty state. So here do the same thing just like what we did above. I'll call on keyboard type first. Since I want the user to enter a couple of numbers, I'll put it to be a phone pad. Then placeholder I would say enter your phone. So placeholder color, placeholder text color, and use that as black. And also value. So the initial value will be what? Home. And then unchained text takes a callback of set home to what value. So I want to set whatever value the user enter, I want to set it as the value for this particular input. And then for the style, I'll just copy this and replace and also place down here. Okay, so you see we have two text inputs. Now the first one is for name, the second one is for number. And we also set up a button here that when we click on that button, it takes us to this screen, which is what the settings screen. So if perhaps we don't want to go to the settings screen, we can also go somewhere else like maybe we want to even go outside of the tabs, we want to go to index, we can pass in index here. So this slash presents the index route. So if we go back to our emulator, we go to home and we, okay, I'll change this text to go to index. So here, when I click, you see, it takes me to the index page. So for touchable opacity, let's set it up in the index page to take us into the tabs. Just the way we left the tabs. Now, if you notice, we don't have the tabs showing here anymore. So the same way, we're going to set up the touchable opacity in our index to take us back to tabs. So this is our index here, right? So to do that here, I'll simply okay, we have things coming from React Native already, so we're going to import touchable opacity here. And also we need to import router from Expo, import use router. And then we configure it here, constant router equal to use router. Alright, so here we simply want to set up the touchable opacity. So the touchable opacity works like a button, except it's more customizable compared to a button. So here we're going to pass in a text also that will say go to home on tabs. So when we click on this, it's going to take us to home screen on tabs. So how do we do that? Here, if I go back, you're not going to notice anything. You just see the text here. But this touchable opacity can be customized with the style. So we can customize it to look and feel like a button by giving it the height. Let me say I'll give you the height of 30. I'll give you the width of maybe 300. Give me the background color of green. So if we go back now, oh, the uploads. Okay, let's go back to index. Good. You can see we have something here looking like a button. See, when I tap on it, it shows the feedback. So that's why it's called a touchable opacity. See, alright? So I think this height is pretty much. So I'm going to reduce the width rather. I'll reduce it to 100. Let me see how that looks. Yeah, maybe 110. And this text, maybe I'll cut down the text a bit to go to home. I think that should be enough. Yeah, you see, it looks more like a button now, right? Good. So This touchable opacity also takes in an onPress property. So this onPress is going to take a callback function that will use dot router has so many other properties. So we have used push. We can also use replace, router.replace. When you do replace, it means that the user cannot go back to the previous page. Yes, but when you do push, it means you can go back. But when you do replace, you can't go back. So we can do router.replace. What do you want to replace? Index. So you see that? We want to go to tabs / home. So if we go back here and we tap on this, you see it takes us to the home screen again. So when I tap on this, it takes me to index. From index, I tap on this, it takes me home. So that's how to use the text input, the button, and the touchable opacity in React Native. See you in the next class.